I don't know what's more confusing, learning astrology or just being a human. Moonday Musings is here to help with that. A weekly, no bullshit guide for the upcoming cosmic forecast and how you can actually use this in your real life. Hello, neighbor. Happy Monday, my friend. Happy Moonday, and welcome back to another episode of Moonday Musings. If this is your first time here at That Witch Podcast, let me please be the first to welcome you to our witchy little neighborhood here. My name's Danny. I'm That Witch Next Door. I'll be your host, your guide, your mentor, your instructor, your spiritual bestie in all things modern witchcraft and cosmic living. This is the first Monday of the month. And on the first Monday or moon day of the month, we go over the cosmic energy overview for the month ahead. If you have not taken a time or not had the time to kind of intentionally reflect back on last month first, I highly, highly recommend going back an episode and listening to our May 2026 reflection and gratitude roundup. It really does set you up for the first moon day of the month here. Now, this is a cool one today to me. Both as an astrologer, as a witch, as a general noticer and appreciator of, signs and symbolism. But today is not only the first moon day or Monday of the calendar month, it's also the first day of the calendar month. It's June 1st today on Monday. And I am one of those people that considers Monday to be the first day of the week. I don't care how it's written in the calendar. I don't, if you're a Sunday is the first day of the week person, you're valid, you exist, that's fine. I'm a Monday of the first day of the week person. I also treat Mondays as a nice, slow kind of feel my way into my week. So I don't consider Monday as the start of the week in this high, intense energy way. That's more of a Tuesday, a Mars thing. But I do consider Monday to be the first. When I look at the calendar, Monday is the first day of the week, in my opinion. And having the first day of the calendar month land on what feels like the first day of the week kind of adds to this fresh, new starts, new beginnings type of energy. June is special in its own way, as it is the 6th month of the 12-month calendar year, which means that when June is over, half of 2026 will be over. If that feels crazy and you don't like to hear it, I apologize, but it is true. I agree that that's crazy to think about, but it is the fact nonetheless. So there's plenty to get into this month. Lots of astrology to peruse over. Let's waste no more time together and let's jump right into our first major transit of the month, which of course begins today. Now, to help me help you, we've got some astrological tools to help us today. I have been incorporating the Numinous Astro deck on our first Monday of the month, the Cosmic Overview episodes for, a couple of months now. Nothing is sponsored. These are just tools that I really, really love and I do genuinely recommend. If especially you are kind of a hands-on learner, a visual learner, getting a good quality astrology deck as a study tool can be a game changer. There are many out there. They're wonderful. This was my first, so I'm a little biased and partial to the Numinous Astro deck. We're also going to be incorporating another favorite astrology deck of mine, which is the Cosmic Parenting deck. Now, this is by Jennifer Freed. This deck was gifted to me by my wonderful witchy business partner in crime, Jenny SRP. This was a gift that she gave me, but this is totally separate, not related at all. Different type of astrology deck with some similar elements, and really those similar elements are the fact that it's an astrology deck. Well, in the Numinous deck, if you've been here before and you've seen me utilize these cards, then you know that what we have here are individual cards. In suits, essentially. We've got a suit for all the zodiac signs, Aries through Pisces. We have a suit for all of the planets, the Sun, Mercury, Venus, Mars. And this is pretty stacked. Not every single asteroid and planetary, every single thing is in here, but all of the major planets, most of the major points are included in this deck, in the Numinous, including Chiron, the asteroid, which I find very helpful. It also has a suit for the astrological houses, and it has a suit of the major and a couple minor aspects as well. So especially if you're learning aspects or struggling with that at all, I do like that the Numinous includes that. And there are other decks out there that are structured similarly to the Numinous, where it kind of categorizes and separates each of these layers of astrology, the signs, the houses, the planets, the aspects. And some of them are more stocked than others. Some of them are less. This is a nice way of individualizing all of the parts of astrology and then being able to take those layers apart, but also put them together. On our other hand, the Cosmic Parenting deck, this is, the way it's written is Cosmic Parenting, a birth chart deck for kids, parents, and families. So the intention here is family astrology and learning the placements of yourself and your loved ones, and where you're similar, where you're different, what your needs are, what your preferences are, your non-negotiables, all these different, and there's all these different factors about and traits that are to help you get to know yourself and your loved ones even better and understand where your differences can be seen and acknowledged and accepted, and also where you can align in your commonalities and things like that. These are a little different because these put a couple of layers together. So first of all, this deck has no houses. Okay, this doesn't take any astrological house into consideration. There's no aspects of any kind. All right. This is simply a deck of the big six in your astrology chart. So that means that it is going to show all of the big six placements. Ready? Sun, Moon, Rising, Mercury, Venus, Mars. That's the big six. If we say the big three, we're talking about the first three that I mentioned: the Sun, the Moon, the Rising. When we say the big six, we're saying the big three plus Mercury, Venus, and Mars. And this deck goes through all six of those placements in each of the zodiac signs. So, for example, the first kind of suit up is the Moon. And so there's a card for Moon in Aries. Here's the back. Here's the front. Here's for the Moon in Taurus, the Moon in Gemini. It goes all the way through the Sun, through the entire zodiac, Mercury through the entire zodiac, the Rising or the Ascendant through the entire zodiac, Venus through the zodiac, and let's see, Mars through the entire zodiac. I don't know if we'll use these every single time. I don't know. I'm really leaving it up to you. I love your feedback after today. You're going to be able to find images of these both on the screen if you're watching right now, but especially if you're not able to watch right now, you'll be able to see the images of the cards that we're using in the blog post that accompanies this episode. So if you're not able to view right now, fear not. There is a place to look at these later on and save them and come back to them and all those things. I wanted to include both. I was preparing for the episode today. I think that there's benefits to each one. So let me know. I'd love to know if you prefer one over the other. I'd love to know if you want me to include both. And I'd also appreciate knowing if me including both is making it overwhelming, if it's too much. Open to productive and constructive feedback over here. All right, so first up, today, Monday the 1st, is our first transit, like I said. And today is an ingress. And this is for our pal, Mercury. And Mercury moves into Cancer today. So, Mercury, our communicator, okay, our buzzy bumblebee, as it's presented here on the numinous card, has a lot to do with, yes, our speaking and communicating, but also our learning and our thinking and our processing and kind of everything that comes from those things. So when Mercury, this buzzy air planet that really operates so many aspects of our mental realm, when it moves into watery Cancer. I stumbled for a second because I wanted to say soft Cancer, but as soon as you say soft Cancer, we remember that Cancer is the crab and there's this very hard crab shell. And I think that we would all do a little bit better to understand Cancer if we remembered that hard aspect of Cancer. I think that we kind of over associate it with its softness by making this assumption that Cancer is weak. That's the truth. That's the hard truth, is so many people start to associate Cancer softness with weakness. And in Cancer's core, there is both this physically hard shell, okay, protection and ferocity of boundaries in a lot of ways. And at the same time, this hardness is also symbolized by its softness, its strength through vulnerability, through its ability to be soft. So we have kind of this dual aspect of the nature of hardness when we're in Cancer, both in kind of physical, like this fierce, loving protector, holder of sacred boundaries, and this strength through softness and vulnerability and trust and emotions and caregiving. Caregiving alone as a symbol for Cancer is a really, really great example of that both and type of hardness, because caregiving requires us to access both our strength through our softness and also our hard boundaries at the same time, no matter whom you are caregiving for or being given or receiving caregiving from. That really requires a both and of the concept of hardness in a lot of ways. Now, where this comes to play in Mercury, when we have Mercury in Cancer, we are definitely going to see bit more like an increase in value in emotional communication, emotional thinking, in empathy for others. And I really believe that when Mercury goes into any of the water signs, that we begin to enter into a world more conducive to nonverbal communication, and that communication through connection and empathy and feeling. So in the numinous labels Mercury as our communicator and Cancer as our doula, which is a beautiful, beautiful archetype. And in our cosmic parenting deck, here's the Cancer energy, the back of the card. So for the Mercury in Cancer card, we can see here, really cool on all of these cards, you get 3 sections. So the first section is going to be really personal to traits and qualities of that planet when it's in that sign. So for Mercury, it says, Mercury in Cancer, when we communicate, keep these following things in mind. And then on the bottom of every card, there's a do list and a don't list, which I like as our negotiables and kind of our non-negotiables. So when Mercury is in Cancer, when we communicate, remember, I take things personally. Admit when you're wrong and show me how to do that. Lead by courageous example by taking risks in what you say. So when we're in the Mercury in Cancer card, this can apply to folks who have Mercury in Cancer in their natal chart already, but also because collective Mercury is entering in Cancer, we can all collectively learn from a card like this that opens up a bit deeper into the world of Mercury in Cancer. So as for our do's and don'ts, when Mercury's in Cancer, do show me that you're listening by being totally undistracted. Do complete a thought before moving on so I can stay engaged. And do encourage me to keep my word. Accountability, I think, is such a strong association with Mercury in Cancer. Don't rush me to spill my feelings. Sometimes I need to reflect first. Don't invalidate the colorful ways I express myself and share ideas with you. And don't yell at me to grow up or call me a crybaby. So this really highlights a lot of what we started off talking about, where we start moving into more nonverbal communication when Mercury moves into any water sign, including Cancer. And this means that emotions are going to be a little bit more present. And depending on where your Mercury is in your chart, you might have Mercury in a sign that doesn't process emotional thinking and emotional communication the same way as one who has Mercury in Cancer, or when Mercury is in Cancer for the collective. And so this is a good opportunity to take a step back and to allow space for emotions. We can respect that there are appropriate ways to respond while having emotions, and there are inappropriate ways to respond while having emotions. Anyone can hold and should hold their boundaries around that. And I do think that we as a society are a little bit quicker to demonize and invalidate and kind of rush through emotional conversation, when all emotional conversation is not created equal and all emotional conversation is not automatically bad. There is discernment there. Just like not all non-emotional communication is inherently good, okay? So, again, you can kind of peruse these cards a little bit further on the blog post. My hope is that with all of these, it helps you tap into some other modes of learning and perspective when looking at astrology. Alrighty, so let's head into our next transit here, which is not for a couple of weeks. On June 13th, so for a couple of weeks, we don't have any ingresses. We don't have any retrogrades beginning yet. We don't have any major moons just yet. But on June 13th, we do have a shift with Venus, who will be leaving Cancer and entering into Leo. I really love our similarities here on the numinous cards between the Venus card and the Leo card. I think that Venus has a pretty good time in Cancer, and I think that Venus also has a pretty good time in Leo. So let me show you. So last month we had Venus in Cancer. You can kind of take a look at the similarities, the overlaps between the energies of these two, and then take in that shift into Leo. Leo's very, very different than Cancer, obviously, but it does share some overlaps in energy with Venus, in my opinion. Especially because Leo is so heart forward. Venus is labeled love in the numinous deck, and Leo is labeled the lover. So Cancer was our doula, right? So we had Venus in Cancer energy for the last month. And now our Venus is entering into the lover. This very heart-forward, heart-led leader by the heart. Leo is very proudly driven by its passionate, loyal heart center. So Leo has a lot to do with boldness and creativity and authenticity. Venus is often called, I've said this many times on this podcast, Venus is often referred to as the relationship planet, and it's just so much bigger than that. Sometimes when you water it down a little bit too much by saying the relationship planet, you're kind of eliminating all these other areas of life that the Venus umbrella really does encompass. And so the way I like to explain Venus energy is it shows up as what we value the most and the deepest in this life, what we have and find the most meaningful connection in. That can be relationships, of course, but this shows up in our taste of music and the arts, what we are attracted to. It shows up in what we're repulsed by and what we want absolutely nothing to do with. So Venus in Leo in the cosmic parenting deck. Beautiful. I love the Leo energy. Aren't these so pretty? I love these cards. Okay, so when Venus is in Leo, we are talking about relating. So I relate dramatically and with exuberance, affectionately and playfully, with great creativity and heart. Now, as for our Venus and Leo do's and don'ts, do create many play dates for me. I love thinking about that, yes, as a caregiver to a child, but I love bringing that example into our regular kind of personal adult lives too. Think of like maybe your inner child saying that to you. Do nurture my creative expressions. Do return my love unconditionally. Do cherish my drama with laughter and find other reasons to laugh with me. I love that because Venus and Leo is very, very dramatic. Don't shame me for needing your focused attention. Don't encourage me when I boast. And don't shut me out of your heart for any reason. I really appreciate especially that last one. Venus and Leo is, I wouldn't have really thought about Venus and Leo season this way until I kind of read it like that. But this can be a powerful time for forgiveness and really evaluating what and whom you've completely shut out of your heart and why. And I don't think that there aren't valid cases for that. And I do believe that there is major healing power in the act and energy of forgiveness. That might apply to someone outside of you. And once again, when I read that, I kind of also saw that as a voice inside of ourselves that might be saying, don't shut yourself off to me and never, ever forgive me. Self-forgiveness is probably one of the hardest types of forgiveness, truly. And I think that kind of taking that into Venus and Leo season could be a little extraordinary. Venus is going to be in Leo from Saturday, June 13th until July 9th. Okay, that is our Venus in Leo season. Now, this presents us next at the Gemini new moon. So we have June 14th for new moon exact. The new moon portal itself, let's see here. The moon opens up the portal and enters into the sign of Gemini on June 13th. Then we have new moon exact on the 14th at 10:54 p.m. Eastern time. The new moon in Gemini is going to be at 24 degrees of Gemini. And the new moon portal will close when the moon enters Cancer on June 15th at 8:14 a.m. So we're back in our moon. We're back in our feelings and our emotional state and the emotional experiences in our life. And we're looking at them through the lens of Gemini under the Gemini new moon. So this is when the moon, our feelings, is expressing itself through Gemini butterfly energy. There's a lot of metamorphosis in Gemini that I don't think gets talked about enough. And I think that what gets talked about more often in Gemini, even by yours truly sometimes, is how much it adapts itself to its environment. And so, there is a metamorphic quality there, but we don't talk enough about or credit Gemini enough with its ability to truly transform and the metamorphosis it experiences throughout its life. We do talk about that with Scorpio a lot, right? That life, death, and rebirth cycle, that regenerative cycle of Scorpio, that shows up in its own way of Gemini. And I think that one of the most beautiful things of Gemini energy is its open mind, its ability to take in new ideas and new ways of learning and new ways of thinking. And because this is a new moon, I think that there is some serious opportunity for mindset refresh and reset. Big time. If you have been approaching something the same way forever and ever and ever and ever and over again, it's just you keep approaching it the same way, you keep thinking about it the same way, you really feel stuck in that thought loop with it. Gemini new moon is a great time to set intentions to really step away from an old mindset and begin new thought patterns, new neural pathways. So in our Gemini moon card in the Cosmic Parenting deck, here's our Gemini twins. When we're in the moon, we're in our needs. So under Gemini moon, it says, I need you to allow me to daydream. I need you to hear me. And I need you to be or provide a mentor for me in a few interesting subjects. Oh my God, this is such a mic drop. I really love a lot of this. Before I read the do's and don'ts, I just want to highlight this. I need you to hear me. Remember that in Gemini energy, kind of almost all of us have our chattiness kind of turned up, our talkativeness. We want to talk. We all want to be heard, and not as many of us are as naturally inclined to turn on our listening and turn that part up as much as we're turning up our talkative parts. We have to remember that as much as we want to be heard, the person across from us often is having that exact same experience. And anybody who has major Gemini placements, or you have loved ones in your life with major Gemini placements, especially Gemini moons, I think that this is very, very incredibly powerful insight. I need you to hear me. And also, be or provide a mentor for me in a few interesting subjects. This really highlights Gemini's need for structure so that it doesn't get too lost and distracted on its pathways of curiosity. So for our Gemini new moon and Gemini moon in general, do's and don'ts, do reward me for sticking with one subject. Do talk with me about what really matters to both of us. And do appreciate my intelligence and love of words, especially when I think things through. Don't allow me to be scattered and distracted for long periods of time. Don't tune me out while focusing on devices. And don't forget to laugh a lot with me. I've said it once, I'll say it 1,000 times. Laughter is the best medicine. Laughter is the key when we are in Gemini energy. All right. After our Gemini new moon, we have kind of a biggie going on this month. And that would be Chiron, the asteroid, the wounded healer, will be finally shifting signs. So I forgot to look up how long Chiron's been in Aries. Chiron has been in Aries since 2018 is when it very first entered. So we've been in this Chiron in Aries energy for quite some time. Now, Chiron's going to enter into Taurus on Sunday the 19th. It is in September going to station retrograde, and it's going to dip back into Aries for some time. And then it will finally re-enter Taurus in April 2027. And then from there, it'll officially be like in Taurus, and it won't dip back into Aries until it's next full time around the zodiac. So Chiron. We could do a whole entire workshop on Chiron. Chiron is our wounded healer. This is an asteroid, like I said. I've definitely mentioned Chiron on the podcast. Where I've talked about it the most in depth is in my bonus episode, which is available to my students in that witch school. I have a bonus episode for each of the major asteroids, including Chiron. And in each of those episodes, I really go a little bit more in depth into the mythology of each of the asteroids and kind of how this shows up in its symbolism of what it represents in the chart for each of us. To streamline it a little bit right here, Chiron represents the trauma that is beyond our control, that is inevitable to every single one of us. No one is beyond or above Chiron and this inevitability of trauma. Usually at multiple points throughout our life, bare minimum, at least a section of everyone's life comes with trauma, destruction, harm, injury, whatever it is. beyond our control. It's something that we do not call upon ourselves. We have absolutely no influence over. It is really the types of hardship that are thrust upon us. And big and here, Chiron represents the wisdom and the growth that we access when we turn toward those wounds, turn toward that trauma, and find our own way of coping and acceptance and healing through and in spite of those events and experiences, okay? Chiron has been in Aries for a long time. Check those out. Aries is big, and there's a lot of destruction already associated with Aries, and it's very necessary destruction. I certainly don't mean that in this shitty way, but it is a Mars-ruled sign, and destruction is part of it. So over the last, 8 years? Over the last 8 years that we've had Chiron and Aries, there have been really big, explosive, all kinds of events and experiences throughout our collective that will and is impacting all generations going through it. So each of us, we have kind of our collective experiences and paths through Chiron experiences, as we're just each kind of living through that. And those born under that Chiron sign, all of those experiences and events going on at birth and in those early years of childhood while Chiron remains in that sign, a lot of these kind of imprint, and we carry this forward through with us. So if you haven't already looked at Chiron in your chart, you might have to turn that setting on in whatever birth chart software or app or website that you're using. It might not automatically be showing up for you. I do recommend looking at this placement for yourself, even if you don't work with the other asteroids. It can be one of the most powerful placements to work with in our shadow work and our healing work. And we can find a lot of, entry points for that self-forgiveness that we were just talking about with Venus and Leo season being here. So when Chiron moves into Taurus energy, we're definitely going to see some shifts. We will see a difference in what wounds us and harms us and how it impacts us and how we respond to it. And we will definitely see that imprinted on the generation that gets born under Chiron and Taurus. I recommend, especially because Chiron is entering into Taurus and it will be stationing retrograde again, starting in September to a point where it'll go back into Aries for some time. And then we officially move into that next Chiron and Taurus chapter beginning in April 2027. From now until September, what I recommend doing is paying attention. I would pay attention to how you and others around you respond to catastrophe and respond to tragedy. I would pay attention to your own inner healing journey and just what it looks like, because this could be very telling of the relationship between your natal Chiron placement and where current Chiron is going to be and how those are going to interact and what that's going to look like for you. This whole kind of from now until September, with Chiron first entering Taurus for a little while before one final stint in Aries, we can kind of utilize it and look at it like a preview of sorts, potentially upcoming themes that we might be entering into. So triggers and projections are really, really important pieces of information right now. Try to pay attention to them in safe ways without inflating them or worsening them, of course. But I would pay attention to them. Now, we don't, in the Cosmic Parenting deck, by the way, we don't have a placement for Chiron, so we don't have an additional card for that. But like I said on the blog post, you are able to go in and get a closer look at the keywords and imagery associated with Chiron and, of course, Taurus as well. Now, on to Sunday, June 21st. This is going to be our next big sun season because Cancer season is coming, my friends. The summer solstice is right around the corner. You might already be kind of feeling some summer solstice energy right now. So, Sun is going to enter Cancer on Sunday, June 21st. The Sun will be in Cancer until July 22nd, which is when Leo season will begin. And I really particularly appreciated the numinous cards for this particular transit because Cancer tends to be associated as not jiving super well with the Sun. So Cancer the Cancer is ruled by the moon. So when the moon is in Cancer, we see this as really harmonious, very aligned energy. And because the Sun is opposite and the Sun is ruled oh my God, I'm like totally mixing up my words. I'm so sorry if I'm messing anybody up right now. Because the moon rules Cancer, we associate lunar energy so much with Cancer. We don't often associate or look at solar energy as harmonious with Cancer energy. But what I love about the numinous cards is that the Cancer card, our doula here, our beautiful figure seems to be basking in the sun. Look, even when I hold the sun card out here, it almost looks like she's basking in the sunlight. There is warmth in Cancer season and not just the warmth of summer. The sun really activates our heart center, and Cancer also can really activate our heart center. So we're going to be going into Cancer season with Mercury in Cancer. And like we talked about, we might be opening up some of our vulnerabilities. We are also, which we'll talk about in a little bit here, we're also going to be entering into a Mercury retrograde in Cancer while the Sun is in Cancer. And I think that this is going to kind of amplify the vulnerable feelings, quite frankly. I would turn to this. I would really try to challenge you not to just run for the hills at vulnerability, especially emotional vulnerability, because I think that there is a lot of opportunity for connection in Cancer season. So when we are in Cancer, when the Sun is in Cancer, when we're in our Sun energy, we are in our identity and our being itself. So on the Cancer Sun card, it says, I am. Okay, just like this, see, at the top. I am emotional and sensitive. I am vulnerable, tender, and gentle with a strong, nurturing side. I am a little bit or a lot psychic. So true. Oh my God. Please pay attention to your intuition right now. Please listen to your gut right now. Really, especially feelings like in your gut, in your belly, feelings in your body, like I don't know. I just got the chills from thinking about that. There was something in my body that really seemed to be avoiding it or rejecting it. Listen to your body. It is a direct line to your intuition. Now, as for our Cancer sun, Cancer season, do's and don'ts, do give me space and time to feel my feelings. Do support me in spending time in water, baths, pools, or the sea. Do appreciate my strengths in nurturing pets, plants, and people. Oh, the 3 Ps. I love it. Don't treat me like my feelings are too much. Don't shame me for my neediness or tenderness. Don't let me be clingy without a gentle reset and help with self-care. I love that both and at the very end like that. There is connection to be had and experienced in Cancer sun energy. And this can be a particularly powerful time to connect with self and self-care and self-nurturing. So whether we're encouraging that for ourselves or others, there's a gentle way to encourage those boundaries. But I really can't overemphasize that, especially during Cancer season. We are often illuminated with the ways that we show up for others and the lack of showing up for ourselves. Because of this shift of Chiron moving into Taurus right before Cancer season, this might increase our sensitivities to our triggers and our projections that we talked about. Cancer season is kind of a big time for, I do everything for everyone and no one does anything for me. And while there may be some truth to that, and I'm not invalidating that, there is something, as your mentor, as your instructor, your spiritual bestie, I do have to say, oftentimes when we're saying that, who we're yelling at the most is ourselves. Because we're not making the time or taking the time for ourselves, or we're not holding the boundaries necessary to give time to ourselves. We're not asking for help, and we're not even letting anybody help. We're too worried about how it has to be done, or that we're the one that has to do it, or whatever, whatever really what it is it's a need for control. And we're labeling it with some other type of but it needs this. Really, at the end of the day, it's a need for control. And you can't even begin to understand what needs you're having that need to be met, let alone actually meet them, if you won't stop constantly showing up for and meeting everybody else's needs. What this means for is, we got to ask for some help. We got to actually accept some help. And this is kind of the biggest one. Sometimes the needs of others are going to go without, even if it's just temporary, so that ours can finally get met. And sometimes this is necessary. So I want you to remember that as we head into Cancer season, again, June 21st through July 22nd, all those sensitivities, triggers, vulnerabilities, projections we might be even more sensitive to right now. But I would pay attention to them and to what they're saying. All right, rounding out the month here. On Sunday, a week later, on Sunday, June 28th, we've got Mars, Marsy, moving into Gemini. Mars has been in Taurus. Mars, I really love teaching Mars energy by having you pay attention to when Mars is in Aries, then pay attention to when Mars is in Taurus, and then pay attention when it shifts into Gemini. They are so different from each other. And because Mars has so much to do with our action and our instincts and just how we move, we can notice a lot by observing how we're moving and how others are moving, especially by our drive and our motivations. Pay attention to what those were like when Mars was in Aries. You can go back a couple of Moonday cosmic overviews to take a look at those windows of time when Mars was in Aries and when Mars was in Taurus. Now, starting June 28th, Mars is going to be in Gemini. We talked about Gemini energy a little bit already, so we know that Gemini can kind of withstand and even enjoy kind of this extra oomph and revving up of energy that Mars gives it, because Gemini is also so energetic, so active, so buzzy. We can really see a big zing, like up, up, up with our energy, our motivators. We might even see some like increase in dopamine a little bit. Big reminder when Mars is in Gemini, especially during, let's see here, Uranus in Gemini. Uranus is going to be in Gemini for a while. We've talked about this a couple of times, but whenever we have a planet entering Gemini right now, it's meeting up with Uranus, we're kind of getting a big boom, like kaboom, like explosion as soon as a planet enters Gemini right now. Not necessarily in a bad way. This could come through in a lot of breakthroughs. This could come through in a lot of big opportunities, a lot of massive shifts that might seem dramatic, but whoa, did they really need to happen? And I need you to be super aware of burnout. I need you to be really, really, really aware of accidentally running yourself into the ground. This is coming from a Mars in Gemini. In fact, I'm very excited to read the Mars in Gemini card with all of you because I do have this natal placement, and I can speak to you from very personal, very repeat experience that Mars in Gemini can be this superpower that I have, this master of multitasking. It really is where the magic of my ADHD can really show itself and come to life. It is also sometimes, more often than not, the part of me that drives me headfirst deep into the ground, into burnout, because I am not paying attention outside of my hyperfixation. So Mars in Gemini, it's very important to remember to ground. Mars is a fire planet going into an air sign of Gemini. We can get a little out of body. We might not be paying attention to our body and our physical cues as much. Don't forget to eat. Don't forget to drink water. Pay attention to the amount of caffeine that you're intaking. All of these things are really easy to like fly by you when Mars is in Gemini. So when Mars is in Gemini, according to our cosmic parenting deck, we are talking about supporting our actions in the planet of Mars. So support my actions by introducing me to activities that stimulate both my mind and my body. Support my actions by getting me involved in a team sport or activity. Support my actions by setting an example for me of not using words as weapons. That's a really good one. Another one that we kind of attribute to Scorpio placements, and we might not realize, those of us with Mars or Mercury in Gemini, sometimes we might use our words as weapons. That was a really good reminder. There is natural sociability in Gemini, and we want to connect with others. We also want to enjoy that connection with others, and sometimes we can do stupid things and make stupid decisions in the name of feeling liked by somebody and connected with somebody. One of the top things that we can do without even thinking about it is mindless gossip when Mars is in Gemini, and we can just run our mouth and kind of talk some shit. And you need to pay attention to what you are saying and who you are talking to, because words can become weapons, right? Now, as for our Mars in Gemini do's and don'ts, do show me how to do things instead of doing them for me. Do engage in side-by-side activities with me where we can learn together. Do teach me how to inhabit the digital realm responsibly. First of all, the overhaul on the screen time under Mars and Gemini, excellent idea. I would even use this time to cleanse your technology right now. Literally burn some herbs around your computer and your phone and shit, okay? Set them out in the moonlight, things like that. Use your witchy cleansing tools and apply it to your technology and your devices in your life. And I really love engage in side-by-side activities with me where we can learn together. Again, I can obviously see how this shows up so beneficial in a parent-child or like a caregiver situation. But I think even in just familial relationships, platonic, like just friend to friend, there is a lot of let's not just do something together, but this month when we hang out, let's like go to a class. Let's learn something. Let's do something brand new together that we both have to learn. Love, love, love that. Now, don't let me get too into my head. Don't allow my room or our home to be chaotic and cluttered. Excellent. And don't teach me to fear new things. Gemini learns through the nervous system. So how you treat your nervous system while Mars is in Gemini will have a big impact on your drive and your motivation. So if you show yourself that there's burnout or danger in trying something new or pushing yourself to do something, you will slowly retract from doing that altogether because your nervous system will kind of subconsciously turn you from that. So this is why really I love that the first step on here is support my actions by including me in activities that stimulate both my mind and my body, because mind-body connection is such a golden bridge when Mars is in Gemini. Keeping that connection to the body is really how you can tap into the superpowers of Mars and Gemini energy. All right. Lastly, we have a big day on June 29th. On June 29th, we have our full moon in Capricorn, and we also have Mercury stationing retrograde on the same day. So moon in Capricorn is similar to sun in Cancer. We tend to associate this energy as kind of conflicting with one another. Personally, I love a Capricorn moon. I love a Capricorn moon person. I love a Capricorn moon transit. That could be how it lands in my chart and personal biases, but I love moon and Capricorn energy. I feel particularly grounded when the moon is in any earth sign, and I feel confident in how grounded I feel when the moon is specifically in Capricorn or when I'm with Capricorn moon placements in my life. So we've got our feelings, right? Our vulnerability in our moon. And when we're in Capricorn energy, we're in our boss energy. We're in our CEO. We are in our authentic confidence to oversee and delegate any aspect of our life. When we have full moon in Capricorn, this is some great, great time for abundance magic and career magic in general. Rituals for scaling your business or scaling your career or changing careers, opening yourself up to new financial opportunities, opening yourself up to new career opportunities and shifts, putting yourself out there more in your business or your career, opening yourself up, networking magic, like amazing in moon in Capricorn energy, because the moon has us in our feelings and our connection centers. And then we're in that confident boss energy in Capricorn. So networking events, putting yourself out there, sticking your hand out and saying, hi, I'm so-and-so, really, really abundant and opportunistic under full moon in Capricorn energy. Now, before we chit-chat about Mercury stationing retrograde that day, I do want to look at the moon in Capricorn card in our cosmic parenting deck. So we're back in the moon, so we're back in our needs. And when the moon is in Capricorn, I need you to communicate in a calm, clear way. I need you to tell me you love me no matter what. I need you to encourage me to feel soft and yielding, to be kind to myself. I hope I'm speaking right to those Capricorn moon placements out there. You deserve all that. Do let me know how much you admire and respect me. Do give me solid, measurable ways to show my love for you. Do make sure I have exposure to great mentors with integrity. Don't make me work for your love. I really love that. Don't forget that I also need to have wild, spontaneous fun. And don't let me dwell too much on getting things done. There is some freedom in things being good enough and not having to be perfect when it comes to Capricorn moon. Now, Mercury stationing retrograde on the same day as our full moon. So Mercury is going to be stationing retrograde in Cancer, and it's going to complete its entire retrograde cycle in the sign of Cancer. So it'll be retrograde from June 29th until July 23rd, and that's when it will station direct and move forward again. So there is probably going to be at least one astrologer out there that tries to tell you to be careful about your magic and your rituals on the full moon this year in Capricorn because of Mercury retrograde that day. Here's what I'm going to tell you. As a witch first, your words matter. Your intentions matter. I would go into any type of ritual work and any type of mindfulness work near and around this month's full moon at the end of the month with added caution is not fully the right word, but I would let yourself be a little more calculated. Take your time. Feel full-bodied in what you mean. Don't be afraid to take some time to sort through how you feel and what you think, to know what it is you really do mean. Let your intentions come fully to surface before just setting them. I also would say that with the full moon being in Capricorn that day and Mercury being in Cancer and stationing retrograde, I would once again turn you pretty heavily to your intuition and where your body is kind of physically calling or pulling you away from. And I would not feel obligated to justify your intuition. And I would really say your intuition deserves to be trusted. There's something there, for sure. There's something there, this kind of glimmer on the other side. This energy is really expanded on starting the next day. Because on June 30th, the last day of the month, Jupiter enters Leo. We will be finishing our Jupiter in Cancer chapter, which has gone on for the past year. And we will begin our Jupiter in Leo. And when we have Jupiter, our big expander, in our sign of Leo the lover, we are not afraid to be bold. We are not afraid to visualize the best for ourselves. And the next step after that is being willing to receive the best for yourself. That's this confidence that Leo can bring to Jupiter optimism. You may find that the days winding down June, your energy will be best served moving a little slower, a little more methodical, a little more calculated. Bear in mind that we begin this Jupiter in Leo chapter with Mercury retrograde for the infinitieth time, and I will never stop reminding you, when we are in a retrograde period, it is a time for taking your time, for slowing down, for pausing, for resting, for resetting, for reflecting, for reviewing, for redefining and reconstructing. I think that Jupiter in Leo is going to really enhance and open up a lot of our courage centers and doing things anyways, even though we might be scared or we have been scared or we've been unsure for a long time. Being bold and being intentional can still go hand in hand. And I think that that's going to be quite the theme for us when we begin to end June and enter into July next month. Neighbor, thanks for sitting with me today in all of this glorious astrology. Remember that, again, you can get all of this information written out and kind of summarized really simply and concisely over on thatwitchnextdoor.com/blog. If you love That Witch Podcast and you love everything that we get into around here, you would be obsessed with That Witch School, and not just the extra bonus content and the even more in-depth that we get to go with astrology and our witchcraft, but also the depth of connection that we form with each other, because I will never stop bragging about how just crazy, amazing, supportive, welcoming, friendly our community is inside of That Witch School. Remember that there's more information in the links in the show notes below. You can go browse our plans and see which one is right for you. You can always send me a message if you have any questions about That Witch School and any perks or features that you get. I'm always just right next door. But I really appreciate your time today and every day, neighbor. Until I see you next time, make sure that, of course, you are out there staying safe, you're letting yourself have fun, and, of course, stay magical, my friend. If you enjoyed today's episode, if you learned something, or you just love That Witch Podcast, one of the best things that you can do is share the show with a friend. Just by reaching out and sharing a link or recommending us to somebody is hands down the best way to help us grow our podcast here. So you can head right now into the podcast app that you're listening to, and you can directly share this episode by using your little share link button, or you can just take a screenshot or just mention That Witch Podcast to whoever you're recommending us to, because you can find That Witch Podcast on all major podcast listening platforms. Thanks for being such a great neighbor.